Hello, this is a Bechstein Model 5 grand piano that's 2 meters long, made in 1900, just come into stock. So just assessing it to see what sort of work needs doing to improve it and to see what the quality of the piano is generally. Looking at the casework, it's all original rosewood, I think, and I think the polish is original too. And colour is pretty integral. This is quite unusual. Normally they're faded rosewood by now, but even on the lid there you see it's not faded and it's got this beautiful rosewood pattern. Now if you've watched our other videos you'll know that we repolish rosewood and leave it slightly matte, as it were. We're not kind of antique, so that it will show the grain, so that the grain you don't get too much reflection, as you can see here, but you get the reflection not distracting from the beautiful grain underneath. But it is very unusual, and I'm really pleased to get this piano in. There's rosewood, and as we've said many times before, how beautiful rosewood is. So it's a wonderful wood, and the legs are usually simulated, made to look like the rest of because they're not made of normally made of, well, they're not fitted in rosewood. And the pedals, it's all original. Very low pedals, extremely low, which we've said many times on Bechstein is fantastic, which means you can, it's very comfortable to play. Your feet are at a good angle, and the casters can be raised up. Casters, by the way, of needing oiling, they're quite a bit seized up. And the piano indeed has been standing for a long time, as we'll see when we examine it. Just go around the rest of the case to show you how integral the whole piano is, with very little, no fading at all that I can see, and really worth looking around the whole piano just to see how good it is. Let's go all around the whole thing, how beautiful the rosewood is. That side I've got a bit too close to the other grand. I'll just move the piano a bit. So there's the long side of the piano, and again it just has a beautiful veneer. If that was repolished, we would get more contrast between the dark and the light. As I say, normally it's faded rosewood that we're repolishing onto, so it'd be interesting to repolish this one. I think it was stripped. We could have it quite light if you are interested in that. I really warm to this piano. Sorry, there's tons of reflection on this, but as I mentioned, we would polish it in such a way it wasn't so reflective. There's the only real blemish on the casework on the top. I don't know, our polisher hasn't seen this yet, so I'm not sure how he would disguise that if he wanted to have the piano as it is. And the colour is very integral, with no fade line, which you get on so many pianos. And it's quite dark there, as you see. Obviously that is slightly darker, but not really that much different. And the frame is not too mottled, as you often get on Bechsteins. So I'm just trying to decide how much restoration we do, whether we need to fully restore it. And now you can see some bass strings are missing here, which is really starts us thinking about whether we're going to restring the piano. And as we'll see, that one's been changed in the past. We'll have to listen to see if that one sounds like the one next to it, whether it's a good match. Otherwise they're original strings. And the felt, there's no moth in it. So these kind of things are obviously looking at when we buy the piano in the first place. So if we weren't going to if we weren't going to fully restore it, then we don't have to worry about the felt being moth-eaten or anything. Obviously, if you fully restore it, we change the felt anyway. There's the model number 5, or V, Roman V. Testing the tuning pins is obviously, was mentioned many times before. They are tight and they're original ones, so they are quite rusty though, the strings. So I think the first thing we're going to do is pitch raise to see whether any more strings break, and also to think about the piano while we're doing it. There's the serial number, which should be here, and on a lot of piano Bechsteins you won't find it there, but you'll find a number underneath which helps us to identify the age of the piano. There's the number underneath, so it's a different number, but we have got a record of, they do correlate, but not quite correctly, so you can't age it exactly from that, but it's pretty accurate. While we're under here, you can see how they fake the grain here. So that's faked grain, and you always get that, and we have to do the same when we repolish the pedals and legs. Now looking at the key tops, we've cleaned the keys already. By the way, you've got to clean them with soap and water and not alcohol, because that will damage the polish and also can damage the key tops as well. That's very important. So just antibacterial soap and water. Duck, Sun and Pinker always amuses me, that name. They were on a bridge in Bath when I think I just caught them before they closed, and the shop's not there anymore, but sold lots of pianos. Now this is a tied action. Before we take it out, I just want to show you something. I want to ask tuners, we've asked our staff if they could identify the problem here. There's one note that's too low and the hammer's not reaching the string. If it's not really getting there, so the one next to it is, and that one isn't reaching the string because there's not enough travel in it. But can you see why? Our staff, I took much longer than the rest of my staff to decide why it wasn't working and what was the problem with that. But if you were in the trade, I'll let you look at that for a while before. Well, I won't tell you. You can put comments at the bottom. I'm sure you'll all guess much faster than I did. But let's have a quick look along those again. Pause to linger on it for a bit and see why do you think that one isn't working properly. Now looking at the action, there's lots of mildew here, and I have to say it looks a bit Dracula-like the way it is at the moment, with the cobwebs and things around, and that's mildew, I think. But the hammers are, well, there's not a huge amount of wear in the hammers, they're original hammers, so we can just linger on that for a bit. They could be refaced. Obviously, we're trying to decide, do we fully restore this piano? If you're interested in the piano, don't want to spend a huge amount of money, then, well, much more money, shall we say, than you would if we just try to recondition it, then that's something we could do. But we can certainly sort the damp problems out. For instance, the hinges there, as you can see with that one, and I've recently showed this on a Bösendorfer video, how the hinges are tight and how we had to loosen them because it affects the touch so much, really. And there's several very tight hinges here, so they've got damp in them. There's one hammer that's been replaced. The hinge here is loose, actually, so that needs to be replaced for another reason. In fact, it's loose and tight. It's tight, but it's wobbling around. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. It's just not really a very good flange, shall we put it like that. And it's useful to see the adjustment screw here for the springs, which need doing. I think that's probably long enough now. I'll just show you the check sheet that we've got. Now, before listening to this piano, I'm going to compare it with another Bechstein the same length, just as our check sheet. You can see how fat it is, and it's relatively in tune with itself, and I don't think it's been tuned for a long time. It's a good, stable piano in that respect. So lots of work to do, actually, on the whole piano. The casters are bad. Retailed by Duxton & Pinker, and the client I bought it from said Roger Jones and Company. I'm not sure where that came from, because I couldn't find it. One owner since 1962. It was a big house in South Wales it was taken out of. Our removal said it was just not lived in at the moment. So pitch raised, well, there's loads of work that we need to do, really. So just put some of the things, but really there's a lot of things. I mentioned a lot of them here, and it's very heavy, but we won't think about touch weighting until we've done all the work. Now the hammers need refacing and the touch is bad, but I'm just going to compare it with a similar piano, same length piano. I'm actually going to play this a semitone lower to make it sound the same. This is a Bechstein 1910. It's also on our stock list at the moment. This also needs voicing. It's had all the action work done though, and it feels beautiful to play. So that's a Bechstein model 5-gram piano, 2 meters long, made in 1900. Just come into stock, and just looking at it to see what work needs doing. And there's a lot of work, as you've seen from the video before. I won't repeat that now because you can look back. But the potential is there, and we did compare it with a 10 years younger Bechstein, which really is no different acoustically, I believe, but very slightly different. There's a redesign of Bechsteins in 1902. But these old Bechsteins, pre-1902, can be really superb. You can hear the rich bass, even though it's not been done. The richness of the bass of the other one obviously comes across much better. now it's not very pleasant to play because it needs so much regulation. I think one of the most impressive things about this piano for me is that it's all original veneer and the colour is original colour. And we talked about the polish and how we could repolish the piano. So if you're interested in it and you want to tell us what you'd like us to do, that would be wonderful. So as I say, it's unusual to get the stark original colour. We usually get faded rosewood, and when we repolish it's usually lighter than this as well. So that can be done. Obviously you can repolish the whole piano if you'd like that done. This is put on under the polish, so it would be a shame to get rid of this, and difficult to mask it round as well. But you can see that could go completely. Normally there's nothing there, you just have the veneer. That could also go. So please let us know if you're interested. Write it to info@robertspianos.com and we'll see what we can do. I think I'm going to play the other one to finish off with, just to show what its potential is. So just to compare it with this Bechstein Model B, it's then called Model B after 1902, it's not called Model 5 anymore, and just to say that it's very similar acoustically to this piano, but cosmetically quite different, as you can see. Now it needs voicing, very much so. But the action is just very smooth and fluid. Beautiful action on Bechstein, so it's one of my favourite actions. Actually, there isn't a video of this piano being played when it's been finished, so I can use this on this piano too. So I hope that's been helpful. And so this is the kind of tone that the other one will have.